Yes, I've done it again. The Meta TR that I built is sold, and here is its replacement, a Privateer 161. I'm not really going to talk about the parts on this bike. What you're seeing right now is a totally stock GX build, although I've since swapped out a few personal preference things like the grips and the saddle. But why this bike specifically? Well, a few reasons. First, I'm a longtime admirer of Privateer's approach. Their thing is basically building affordable, bang-for-buck bikes that are designed to be easy to work on. Look at that external cable routing, so practical, I love it. Second, it comes with a lot of the parts I'd have chosen myself for a frame-up build anyway, including Hayes Dominion brakes, which I'm already on record as loving. And third, it was cheap. I mean, Privateer's bikes are pretty affordable anyway given the spec, even at their regular prices, but this spring they had an $800 off sale, and I just couldn't say no. I'd actually prefer to buy used bikes at this point for environmental reasons, but every used 161 that I found was actually more expensive than a new one. So here we are. This is going to be my bike for park days and more enduro-y rides, or at least that's the plan. But let's jump into the future and see how it feels on the first ride. All right, so we are out for the first ride on the Privateer 161. Got the camera on my helmet today because actually wearing the full face with the camera, believe it or not, is actually a little bit cooler than wearing the chest mount, and it is. Even though it's April, it's about 80 degrees today. Crazy. So anyway, this actually isn't, technically this is not my first ride on this bike. I did take it out this morning on a little mountain bike ride with my daughter just to kind of give it a shakedown to make sure nothing was going to fall off. But this will be the first real ride on real stuff because obviously my daughter's 8, so we're not really shredding too hard just yet when we're riding together. This bike is a full-on enduro bike, so it really is overkill for Bradbury, but I like to come here to test bikes and sort of gauge how they feel because I know these trails really well. And so if something feels really good or really bad or whatever, it's going to be easier for me to tell that just because I've ridden it on a whole bunch of different bikes. All right, so let's try a steep sort of fire roady climb, which is the ski trail. Man, it is wild how different the seat tube angle feels on this bike compared to like the Druid or really anything else that I've ridden. They are not joking when they say this bike is not designed for flats. It's really, I mean, it's fine. I was actually surprised with how good it felt sort of riding around on flat stuff with my daughter just based on what I'd read about it. But it is definitely designed to be ridden downhill and then ridden uphill, and the super steep seat tube angle just feels totally natural on stuff like that when it's pointed up. Whew. I guess I'd just say a couple other things about this bike that I noticed. I'm pretty thrilled with sort of like the affordability of it, the quality of it, given the price that I paid and all that stuff. If there is one complaint that I would have, it is maybe Privateer wants to do a little bit of work on their quality control, because some of the bolts, particularly in the cockpit area, somebody went at them hard when they were setting this bike up the first time, I'll tell you. So I actually have already switched out all of the bolts in this stem because one of them was already pretty much stripped out. The bolts for the brake levers as well, they're pretty close. They look like they've been worked over. So does this bolt right there. I mean, look at all those scrapes and scratches. None of that was me. Came out of the box like that. So a couple minor quibbles sort of on the bike setup front, but really it's nothing that, if you've got a torque wrench and a little bit of knowledge, nothing that you couldn't fix yourself if that did happen to you. And in terms of things I've changed, grips, bars, and I did swap out the seat. That's not the stock seat. I like the WTB Volt. It fits my butt. So that's the seat that I'm running on everything at this point. And that includes this bike. So here's the agenda from here. We're going to do Tote Road, which has some technical climbing on the way up. And then we're going to do Tote Road back down, which also has some it's a little bit of techie downhill, nothing crazy. And then we'll go back out and up and sort of do some more fire road climbing on Northern Loop, I think the name of that trail is, and see how that feels. And then we get back to the top again and we'll go down Switchback, which is more sort of techie downhill stuff, and see how that feels. Again, this isn't really a bike for Bradbury. This is built for, like, I'm really excited to ride this on Raven when the Falmouth Trail's open, and to take it up to Mount Abram, because it's really more for that. Take it up to Carabasset. Not so much Bradbury, but Bradbury has a little bit of gnar, so we're just gonna test it out and see how it feels. All right, so we're coming into sort of the beginning of some of the tricky climbing bits, and I'll be interested to see how this feels compared to the Druid, because on the one hand, the steep seat tube angle, and it's really steep, I forget the exact number, but it's like 79 degrees. So like, this bike actually came out a few years ago, but compared to even the bikes that are coming out now, it is still steeper than most of them. Possibly all of them. It's very steep. But that means it's really easy to, I mean, effortless really, to keep the front down. As you're going up stuff, that's something I've noticed already, even on fire road climb. On the other hand, it is heavier, and it doesn't have an instant engagement hub like the Druid does with that Onyx. And that is really helpful for technical climbing. So we'll just see. Whew. We'll see how my fitness handles it too. To be honest, that's probably the limitation today. All right, so here's the real tricky climb. And I'm not even sure what the best line is for this anymore, but I'm just gonna go up here, stay on the trail. And what about this? I think yeah, just monster truck up that. Whoa. Okay, well, that was on me for line choice. In retrospect, that would have been better. We are here at the top of Bradbury. Just did Tote Road up, and yeah, it felt pretty good. The tech climbing, it is a heavier bike, and you can definitely feel that. That's to be expected for like a burly enduro thing, but really felt good. Really easy to keep the nose down, just because of the, I think it's just because of the steep seat tube angle. So loving that. I'm sucking wind already. Too hot in April, but let's see how this handles going downhill. That said, obviously this is really my first time riding anything real on this bike. I'm not going to push it or do anything crazy, also because it's super early in the season. Really don't want to get hurt and miss like several months like I did last year. That sucked. She can move. Oh, shit. Terrible line, whatever. Whew. I've forgotten all the right lines on that, but this is a pretty forgiving, mistake forgiving rig to be on if you're gonna forget the lines through a rock garden. Or a rock and root garden. Is root garden a thing? You never hear anybody say that, but that's like 90% of main trails. Not really. Not 90. Ooh. Little drop. Oh yeah, she'll do. She'll do just fine. A little banging and rattling. I don't really know what that is, but this feels very stable through that kind of stuff. I'm going to put a custom top cap and fender on, just like the Druid. Those haven't come yet. And as you can see, probably, the cables are all just totally loose, rattling around right now. So I probably need to break the zip ties out a little bit. I got the moto leaf somewhere. Where is that? In the back? Oh yeah. It's set up like a baseball card. All right, well I gotta say, based on that, I love how this thing feels when it's pointed downhill. Just really confidence inspiring. I would say, I mean, the Druid is a very capable bike, especially now that I put the Cascade Components link in there. And it is still, without a doubt, the better fit bike for riding here at Bradbury. But in those kind of fast, chunky sections, I would say this actually feels a little more confidence inspiring than the Druid, which it probably should. So that's a good thing. Yeah, the bike felt great. Pointed downhill, it's sort of like the faster it goes, the better it feels. In the sort of low speed, bumpy stuff, the Druid definitely tracks better over that. But I would say pointed downhill on the sort of rooty, rocky stuff that's really fast, I felt more comfortable on this bike, just letting go of the brakes. This is kind of like the angle where the bike actually feels most comfortable. The flatter it is, the more you really are kind of putting some weight on your hands, on your arms, or a little bit more weight than is comfortable, which is why this would be a terrible cross-country bike. But now that I'm putting it uphill, the weight just feels perfect. Yeah, the bike is just stable, I think, is a good word for it in both directions. Back at the top of Bradbury again, and now we're going to do Switchback, which is a little gnarlier and a little tighter, and I don't know it as well. I'm going to be a little cautious. Whew. Well, I know it well enough to know that that whole entrance was terrible. It was like just all the wrong lines, but this bike is like, yeah, whatever. Give me those roots, I'll eat them. Really tight switchback here that you kind of can't even see. And I'm sure people have hiked down that way. People ride their bikes down that way. Ooh, I just went off the trail because this is that's the trail right there, like with this route right in it. So, okay. Adds a little new spice to it. Oh, whew. Again, terrible line, but the bike doesn't care that much. You, all right. Lovely stuff. And now I kind of feel like I kind of want to go up again. Is that crazy? Probably a bad idea given my fitness, but let's go up a little bit again and just get some more downhill. It's the mark of an enduro bike that's doing its job, right? When you get to the bottom and you're like, let's get back to the top. I want to do that again. It has gotten very ruddy over. It was actually mostly last fall that happened, I think. And amazingly, right now it's dry enough that it's actually kind of loose. I think it is supposed to maybe rain a little bit tonight, so tighten it up a little bit again, but yeah. Whew. Oh boy, that just feels good. There's some like Swedish or Norwegian or Finnish, some Nordic word for like the refreshing feeling of wind in your face. And even like, I recall reading some article about how that's like actually, you know, it's strongly associated with like mental health or happiness or something. And, you know, these Nordic countries, whichever one it was, had some tradition of like sort of intentionally trying to go out to get that. And the article's theory, you know, I have no idea if this is true, but the article's theory is that's part of why those countries are so happy, statistically. You know, personally, I think it probably has more to do with the strong social safety net, not just living in constant fear of bankruptcy and poverty if you happen to get the wrong disease. I think that probably helps keep them happy too, but that feeling of the wind in your face is also good. The wind in your face is good, is what I'm saying. Zoom! Oh my goodness. Listen, I'm sure some of you won't agree with the politics, and I don't really give a shit, but I will say this, I'm pretty sure everybody will agree, everybody watching this video at least will agree, that mountain bikes are fun as hell. And we are lucky. I am certainly very lucky to have the resources and the support and everything that I need to be able to get out here and do this. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. So I hope you have a chance to get outside and ride, and I'll see you in the next one. For real, if you're in Maine, get out and go get it, because pretty much everywhere is dry now and it is gorgeous. Whew, love that feeling.